point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
Yo, what's cracking, G's? That's G's as in gamers, that is. What was you thinking? Today's video is going to be a question I impose on you guys. Not propose, but impose. You feel me? That's how we doing it. Anyway, today's question is going to be quality versus quantity. I was on YouTube last night and I saw a whole bunch of videos. I mean, pretty much all your YouTubers that you probably watch. Other than myself, of course, because, you know, I'm the realest YouTuber alive. But anyway, yeah, I digress, you know. But anyway, all these other YouTubers is on YouTube crying about, you know, the same old shit, man. They crying about that 1080, 900, 792, that 30 FPS, that 60 FPS. Now, a lot of you, if you follow me, you know that I shoot music videos. I've been doing that for quite a while. I deal with a lot of film and cinematic field. And I deal with digital, of course, not film. But, you know, there's this old versus new kind of thing going on in this community. And a lot of the YouTubers on here are young kids. You know, a lot of y'all are young kids, especially compared to me. You could call me the old man gamer because I'm a lot older than a lot of these YouTubers. A lot of these guys are like 19 and 20 and shit. So, yeah, you know, I'm a lot older than those guys. So, I could tell you a thing or two about a thing or two, but of course you guys are going to listen to anything that I say rather than what's in the link. If it's in the link, it's going to be, it means it's true. What I'm saying is a lot. But anyway, let's get to the point. Anyway, the point is quality or quantity. Which one do you guys prefer? Which one do you guys want? You can't have it both ways. A lot of things are not meant to be in 60 frames per second. And when I say that, I mean that, yes, it's good for games to be in 60 frames per second, but it depends on what type of game. A lot of you guys are looking at numbers and you're looking at quantity and you're saying that this is what you want for a quality. And that's not actually the case. And if these devs are so bad and so horrible and you think that they should be making everything 60 FPS and it should be 1080p, if everything should be at these resolutions and these speeds and these frame rates, I should say, it was still a speed, but why do you buy the games? You guys need to make your messages clear. Make your voice heard. Stop crying all the time on YouTube about quantity. You should be crying about quality. Things like what Destiny did with the DLC. People are finding that on the disc. That's what needs to be on YouTube. Not a bunch of stuff crying about, you know, a game where a guy's walking down the block, like Evil Within. A game like that is locked at 30 frames per second. It's a game that's meant to feel cinematic. Why does that need to be 60 frames per second? It's not a multiplayer competitive game. Now let's explain 60 frames versus 30 frames for a second. Me being an expert on this, I'm not gonna say I know everything, but I'm quite the expert on it because I've been using it for many years now. When you go with 29, 27, or 24 frames per second, that's to make digital feel like film, 35mm film. A game like The Evil Within is meant to feel like a film. So that game does not need to be 60 frames per second. Now, when you get a game like Call of Duty, where you're playing competitively online, and this is like computer gamer thinking, because a lot of you console guys are getting into this, and you really just should get a PC. Now, I'm gonna explain it right now why. When you get into 60 frames per second versus 30 frames per second, that makes a difference when you have a high-end monitor or TV. And TVs and monitors are not the same for frame rate either, you guys. So some of you guys happen to think that when you see a number, it's actually the same. TVs process frame rates differently from monitors. So for the sake of this argument, I'm going to talk about monitors, because most people who care about frame rates actually game on monitors. I game on both. I have like a dual setup where I have a monitor and TV next to each other, and I use both. And there's a difference. I can honestly tell you guys that. Now, let me get into this. Okay. When you're playing Call of Duty and you get that situation where you're running and you're chasing a guy, you start getting shot and the game starts like flickering, like to indicate that you've been hit. Sometimes when you see that flickering, that's actually not the game purposely doing that. That's actually your display cutting and tearing because your frame rate is bad. It gets like this jaggedy effect mixed in with like a bleed effect to make it look like you're bleeding, but the screen is actually cutting. And then when you go to look around and see where the person is, he's like moving in this funny manner where it's like he's just speeding past you, where it's like 1 minute he's behind you, next minute he's on the side, next minute he's running past you, next minute you're dead. That's a perfect example of frame rate issues where you get what's called tearing. And because this guy had a better monitor or he had a better frame rate, he was able to hit the buttons and he didn't get the latency that you got. Now, this has nothing to do with internet speed. That actually plays a part, but this part has nothing to do with it. This is where having a superior hardware comes in. So a lot of people who complain about frame rate is because they're not console peasants, they're PC gamers. And a lot of you console guys are complaining now because you hear these people saying it and you just assume automatically that, oh, that's what we need. Consoles don't really need 60 FPS, because once you start getting into that, you kind of want to go on a PC, because that means you're getting serious, you're getting competitive, you want everything working right. You got your setup where everything's fine tweaked, your monitors 120 hertz, 140 hertz, you're getting top frame rates, and you're being competitive. 60 frames per second is meant for action, and I'm talking about like an action game like Call of Duty, FPS, something of that nature, something like Metal Gear Solid with a lot of explosions and movement and panning and zooming. Because the only time you're going to notice a real difference between 24 frames per second and 60 frames per second is when something is panning around and moving around, because that cinematic feel is for like slow pans. But when you have fast pans, you will see the difference. If I take a camera and I put it in 24p and I pan it from left to right, and I put it in 60 frames and do the exact same motion, you will see a difference in the zoom, in the pan, like when it's moving, because it's like a little jaggedy on a 60 hertz, 120 hertz display. So for you guys that's complaining about this, console people, please realize you don't need everything to be in 60 frames per second. So please be mindful of what you hear these people saying on YouTube, and please understand, do your research and understand what frame rate really is and what it's for, and why you don't want everything to be 60 frames per second. And as far as the resolution, well, that's a different story. I'm not gonna sit here and promote anything under 1080. I feel like at this point in time in life, 1080 should be standard. I really don't think there should be a 900 or 792 anything going on. I feel like if those displays are max available for a console of some choice, it should be at a reduced price. That's just how I feel. Just like I feel like Xbox 360, Xbox One is out. You want people to go to Xbox One, but the Evil Within is going to come out for both consoles at the same price, and we both know that the superior version would be the next gen version. So I feel like these consoles really need to stop doing stuff like that. But you gamers have to make your voice heard, and you have to stop supporting this shit as well if you don't agree with it. Stop bitching about it but buying it, and then being like, oh, I brought a piece of shit. Too late, you supported the dev already. Then they do it again in 6 months and you're complaining again on YouTube. So I think you YouTubers really need to, step your shit up, stop bitching and moaning. If you're in your feelings, go get a blanket and lay in them and chill, and stop making videos about it, because at this point in time, it's kind of redundant. I haven't even been here a year yet, and I see the same old topics coming up every 3 months when a game dev does the same thing they did 3 months ago. And everybody starts the cycle all over again of bitching and moaning and crying. So what is it, quality or quantity? Which one do you want? Every game can't be 60 frames per second, and every game doesn't need to be. So now I made this video long enough. I'm gonna cut it short, but I just wanted to have a little discussion with you guys about frame rates and why frame rates are good, but they're not necessary for every game. The game devs who made Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed are right about that. And if you guys feel like the game devs are doing such a bad job, why don't you guys make games so we can play your games at 1080p and 60 frames per second? All right, so I want to know what you guys think. Are gamers really looking for quantity, or are they looking for quality? And preferably a lot of these YouTubers. Now I'm gonna say this now, when you come to my channel is gonna have a different perspective on a lot of things, because I'm quite honestly, I'm a little bit older than these guys. I'm not an old man, but I'm a little bit older than these guys. That's one thing. I know a little bit. I've done a lot of things. I made a living off of this, as far as like, I helped pay for things with this. I'm not rich or anything like that. I'm not trying to say that or nothing, but I'm just saying that I have a lot of hands-on experience with frame rates and resolutions, and I have a good idea of what's needed and what's not. If you guys have any questions, I'll do my best to answer those. If you really want to know about frame rate, the truth, not what these guys are thinking, because people are saying games should be 60 frames per second. No, it's not that games should be 60 frames per second. Certain games perform better at 60 frames per second versus others. Some feel better at 24 frames per second, believe it or not. And now a lot of people are gonna go, no, but you guys gotta think and ask yourself this question: are you whoring numbers? Because you look at a number and automatically validate a game based off the number. But what if the game is 1080p and 60 frames per second and the game is fucking trash? Did you ever think about that? Of course you didn't, because you guys are going for quantity. Now, this is me. My channel was quality over quantity. So I don't care about all of those things like that. When I want my numbers to be right, I want them to be right because I want them to match my quality. So that's why I game on PC with certain games. Now this video is over 10 minutes. I'm gonna stop talking right now. This is Jimmy B Gaming. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you stuck around for the whole 10 minutes, thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, or share this video if you agree. Get this out there to your favorite YouTubers so we can start getting a change and getting some real things done and taken care of around here, so people can stop bitching and moaning just to get views from you guys. All right, shout out to all my subscribers. I appreciate you guys. I thank y'all for watching. I'm gonna start doing some giveaways on my channel. I did have a sit down meeting and I'm gonna post a video about that soon. Stay tuned, guys. I'm out.